against Trump in the House of Representatives. This comes after the House voted to condemn Trump for his racist comments against four minority Democratic congresswomen.
Third time could be the charm for Democratic lawmaker Al Green. This is his latest attempt to call for Trump's impeachment on the floor of the House. Today, Green presented a bill to the House to punish Trump, citing his racist tweets as evidence.
Today is the day that we will take up the opportunity to punish the president for his invidious behavior. Yesterday was the day that we found him guilty. This is a bifurcated process. He was found guilty yesterday. I supported that. Today, we take up punishment.
Green is angry with the president for telling a group of congresswomen to go back to the crime-infested places from which they came. Another Democratic lawmaker from Texas is supporting his bid to punish Trump.
Well, the Judiciary Committee is doing its job. If it comes on the floor, I'm going to vote for it because I believe in good conscience one cannot stand here and accept the fact, as a member of the Judiciary Committee and my knowledge of the impeachment process and having gone through an impeachment process before, one could not argue with substance that this president has not put himself in a position to at least be held accountable under the Constitution.
On Tuesday, 240 Democrats voted in favor of condemning Trump's use of racist language. 187 Republicans opposed the vote. Only 4 Republicans crossed party lines, calling Trump's racist attacks unacceptable. Trump is seeking re-election next year.
And for more on this story, the associate editor at Daily Maverick and a retired American diplomat, Spector, joins us now on the line about this. A very good evening to you, Mr. Spector. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, this is perhaps will be Trump's biggest test of the kind of support that he has at the House. How do you think the House will vote on this particular matter?
Well, the likelihood is that the bill will probably not come to the floor of the House of Representatives for a vote between now and, let's say, the end of the calendar year. It's more likely that the bill will be referred to the Judiciary Committee for thought and study and contemplation and maybe hearings. It's even possible that it won't be passed through to the Judiciary Committee at all, because there's a very simple reason why. The House of Representatives, the lower house, 435 members elected on a 2-year cycle, they have the authority under the Constitution to vote a bill of impeachment, effectively an indictment, if you would put it in normal judiciary terms. But it's the Senate, 2 senators per state, 100 senators elected on 6-year terms, 1/3 at every 2-year election, and which is now controlled by the Republicans by a narrow margin of several seats. They will not vote for it, and you need a 2/3 majority of the Senate to convict under a bill of impeachment. And the likelihood of it happening then is, unless some truly extraordinary thing is discovered between now and then, something that nobody could argue was not a crime and was not knowingly a crime when it was done, short of something like that, it won't get passed. So what this means is the vote of censure, which passed the other day, is a symbolic slap on the wrist. It's embarrassing, obviously. I wouldn't want to be a president of a country and have its parliament vote to censure you for bad behavior, but it's symbolic only. It doesn't send him to the gallows. It doesn't send him out of office. It doesn't fine him. It doesn't restrict his powers. And there is an argument to be made, Republicans probably will make it, that it was all a pre-election ploy anyway, and with the election coming up next year, they could, in theory, point to this to say, you see, the Democrats are just out to get him for saying what's on his mind.
Mr. Spector, the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, said that she does not support this resolution put forth by Al Green. Now, looking back at the kind of relationship that was shared between Trump and Speaker Nancy Pelosi, what does this mean?
Well, as I say, it means that she's done the math, and it's not really hard math. And all it would do, if it were to pass, is mean that it would go down to defeat in the Senate, and that doesn't do anything more than make people feel good. It doesn't change the president's powers. It doesn't remove him from office. It doesn't fine him or punish him in any way. It simply says that the House of Representatives has decided that there were crimes, bad behaviors, and other defined activities that merit impeachment. But the Senate is the one that will have to act as the judge and jury in this case. They won't vote for it, and so it's an exercise in making yourself feel better rather than succeeding in limiting the powers of the president. And I think Nancy Pelosi and her closest allies and aides would make a further argument, and it's one that's important to understand. There are already a number of House committees that are investigating other activities of the president, and there are also investigations going on in the state of New York and in the federal attorney's Southern District of New York. That's Manhattan. That's the one you see in all the television shows most of the time. There are various investigations that are proceeding about misuse of funds or exercise of powers that aren't there to be exercised and so forth. And the argument is made that those processes, should they move forward, will be much more painful and potentially harmful to the president, because when they uncover things or when they document things, that will make it that much more difficult for him to carry out further activities. And you have to put all of this, you have to wrap all of these things in the blanket of the run-up to the primary elections, which begin early next year, and then the campaign for the presidency, and then the election itself. This isn't to say it's just political. It just means that there is a political aspect to all of this that can make it difficult to determine who is going to do what and how it's going to play out, other than the president will be under a microscope or under multiple microscopes for a long time to come.
Do you think the House should hold on impeachment proceedings after the testimony of former Special Counsel Robert Mueller next week?
Well, I mean, it's certainly not going to happen. I mean, the vote for the impeachment resolution, this is my guess. I mean, I don't have inside information into the minds of the 200-plus Democratic congressmen and women, but I have a feeling that this impeachment resolution will itself get referred to committee, where it will be considered and thought through and discussed. And when Robert Mueller goes in to do his testimony, that may well weigh on it somewhat. Well, we don't know. Remember, the report itself, what did it do? There were two parts to the report, right? There was the first volume, which documented in excruciating detail the efforts and success or effectiveness of various activities designed to render the election less than the kind of equal election that people hoped it would be. The Russian interference, and then the interference by organizations associated with the Russians, and then the bot wars and all the rest of this. The second volume concerned the Trump campaign's relationship to people who were or purported to be representatives of various Russian organizations, institutions, or individuals, and how eagerly that is the Trump campaign, how eagerly they embraced the possibility of gaining information from those organizations. But But Mueller very carefully said that under current rules by the Judiciary Department, we don't have the authority to recommend a trial or conviction of a president. But if he had been innocent of all, if we could believe he was innocent of all activities, we would have said so. That's a far distant place than no collusion exoneration now, isn't it?
Yeah, and we know that Green has been for years trying to get Trump to be impeached, and this latest attempt being the third. So we'll be closely seeing whether there will be any success in this latest attempt. Mr. Spector, thank you so much for your time. That was Brooks Spector. He's the associate editor at the Daily Maverick and a retired American diplomat. This is The Globe on SABC News. We'll have more news in a moment.